Welcome, everyone, to Consciousness Engineering. I am so excited about today's trainer, Joe Vitale. I've been reading your books, Joe, for almost 10 years now, and they've had an incredible impact in my life. And so what I wanted to do, folks, in this training is have Joe come on to share with you some of the mind-blowing ideas that I've learned from studying his work for over a decade. You've been around for a long time.
Yes, I have.
And Joe, we love to start every interview with a important question so we get to know you better. That question is, what gets you out of bed every morning?
A good cup of coffee gets me out of bed every morning. But beyond that, inspiration. I'm driven by passion. I get excited about ideas. I get excited about projects. I get excited about books. I'm getting excited about music that I'm creating. And I want to jump out of bed and I want to bring life to it. I'm a guy who follows my heart, I follow my inspiration, I follow my passion, and that's a lot of juice. I'm plugged into the current of life. And so more than the cup of coffee in the morning, it's the inspired ideas that I can't wait to bring birth to, that I can't wait to bring into the world. So it's those ideas, it's that passion that makes me excited. In fact, I start to get excited even talking about it right now because it's an exciting subject. It's an exciting way to live.
And you know, that's something that I've really admired about you. You have so much creation going on in your life. It's mind-blowing. So I wrote to Joe in 2008, and I got back his autoresponder. And his autoresponder basically said, don't expect to hear from me for the next gajillion weeks because I'm working on, and then it proceeded to list something along the lines of 7 books, 5 movies, your country music album, several online courses or trainings you were doing, and a whole range of speaking tours. And that's what I find phenomenal about you. And I think I'm going to call this particular training Intention versus Inspiration, because I know few people in the world who can create so rapidly, so much great output like you. And you aren't just writing books, you're writing great books, books such as Spiritual Marketing, World's Greatest Secret, Zero Limits. These books have had an amazing impact in my life. Yet you were once homeless. Can you tell us about that? How did you go from homeless to where you are now?
Well, I didn't do it overnight. It's a long process. Yeah, I was homeless back in the 1970s, back in Dallas. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything. I slept in public libraries and bus stations and other places. But here's the thing. I kept following my dream. I kept believing in myself and thinking that any day now something's going to shift. I kept pursuing my idea that I was going to be an author. And this is what my passion was, and this is what was driving me. And so as I kept pursuing, day by day, doing whatever it took, and writing, even when there was no evidence around me that I would ever be a success, I wrote every day anyway. This is an important element of success. I was persistent when nobody around me believed in me. I was persistent when I even doubted myself. I was persistent when there was no evidence whatsoever that I would ever achieve anything. But I learned something along the way, and this is really important. I learned that the clearer you are, the faster you get results. The clearer you are, the faster you get results. You mentioned 5 books. I've written 50 books. You mentioned 7 movies. I'm now in 15 movies. You mentioned 1 country album. I have no country albums, but I have 15 albums now. 5 rock and roll singer-songwriter albums, and the rest of them are kind of meditative, new age, otherworldly, transcendent music. And yes, I'm still traveling. I just went to Kuwait. I'm going all over the world. So I am doing all of this and more because I'm following my passion and I'm clear. And this is an important element because if people want to hack consciousness and they want to hack their life and they want to get results, one of the important things they have to do is get clear. And what I mean by that is being clear of your own interference. Most people have an idea for a book. Most people have an idea for a music CD. Most people have an idea for a product, a service, a business. But most people aren't clear about it, and they talk themselves out of it. They say, not me, not now. I don't have the experience. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections. And they're done. They don't produce anything. What I mean by getting clear is getting clear of the beliefs that would stop you from moving forward. When you get clear, you can achieve almost anything and at a rapid pace.
One of the most interesting ideas I got from your book, and I'd love to bring it up right now, is the idea of intention versus inspiration. In your book, Zero Limits, that book genuinely created a shift in how I view my life. Because in that book, you talk about intention versus inspiration. You say that many people want to use intention to create the next phase of their life, intention to create their vision for their life 3 years into the future or years into the future. But you said there's a deeper, more meaningful way, and that is to work through inspiration. In other words, you open yourself to be a channel, and by being this channel, you get guidance on what that next step would be, what that next book would be, what that next creative item would be. Could you tell us about that?
Wow, that's a great question and a big subject. First of all, I still like intentions. I think intentions help us stay on target because the way our brains work, they need some sort of guidance. We need something that tells us what we want in our lives. Otherwise, we're going to fall on a default setting. And the default setting in our brain is survival. That's it, survival. But if you want to have, do, or be more than survival, then having intentions is a great step forward. And so I like intentions, but I found something better. So much better that I now say intentions are for wimps. Intentions are for wimps. Because what's better than intention is what you just said, inspiration. So what's the difference? Intentions usually come from the ego. They usually are head-oriented. They're usually based on our past. They're based on something we did before, something we didn't achieve before, something somebody else did. So intentions come from our known reality. Inspirations come from the wider perspective of life itself. Inspirations come from your connection to what I call divinity. You mentioned the book Zero Limits, and in that book we talk about divinity. Some people can call that God, some people can call it nature, some people can call it your unconscious mind. But it is the energy field, the collective, that is bigger than just me and bigger than just you, though we are part of it. That essence has intelligence, and that essence is trying to guide us to something bigger and better than an intention. I say intentions are for wimps now because most of the time when we set an intention, they're kind of really small goals compared to what's possible. What's possible can only be known when you open your mind and allow this greater force to come in. And that greater force is going to inspire you. I find that intentions are great because they guide me where I want to go. But inspiration is rocket fuel, it's jet fuel, it's nuclear power. It comes up from within here and just propels you down the road. So I prefer inspirations, and then I will make my inspiration my intention.
I see. So you start with that inspiration. And from that guiding inspiration, you set your vision for how you want to be.
That's right.
Whereas most people set an intention and then are waiting for an inspiration. But what they do not realize is that the intention could be completely out of alignment or too small from where they could be.
That's right. A lot of people that I've talked to that have achieved big things will refer to the feeling of an inspiration like getting marching orders from God. It feels like you get a mission. Like something came in and told you, forget about whatever the small little intention you had was, that little goal, because here's something bigger. Here's something better. Here's something you didn't even imagine before. But it comes like an inspiration, and in some ways it is so big, it just envelopes you with this energy and this power and this excitement. So I much prefer inspiration. That's how I get so much done. I follow an inspired life. Inspired living is what got me to be with you.
Well, that explains 50 books and 15 movies.
And more coming.
And you don't stop. Now, and they work. So let's go deeper. How could we begin to live in that state? What systems do you apply?
That's a great question. Well, there's a couple things. Now, you mentioned the book Zero Limits, and Zero Limits is all about this amazing story, which you know, but many other people may not. I'll tell it very briefly. It's the true story of a therapist who worked at a mental institution for criminally insane patients in Hawaii. And because that institution was so sad, so despicable, and so dangerous, the patients were either shackled or sedated on a daily basis. And the doctors would quit, nurses would quit, and the state needed to have staff there, and they needed to have licensed staff. So they finally hired an unusual therapist, and I say unusual because he said, I'll go there and I'll work at the hospital, but I'm not going to do traditional medicine. I'm not going to do traditional therapy. I'm going to do my own method. And he started doing his own method, and within a few months, patients started to get better. They didn't have to be shackled. They didn't have to be sedated. They actually got happier. A few months after that, the patients started to be released. Within 4 years, virtually every patient was released. Remember, they were mentally ill criminals who were sentenced to be at that hospital. And so you wonder, what did this therapist do? He did one thing. He worked on himself. He worked on himself with a Hawaiian healing method called Ho'oponopono. Now, Ho'oponopono, it's a long word, but all we're really talking about is correcting our erroneous beliefs within ourselves. And we do it with 4 phrases. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. That's one of my processes. I use Ho'oponopono every day on myself. In fact, I've been doing it for 10 years, so it's pretty much automated. It's going on in my head right now. Most people have a background tape that's talking to them in the back of their mind right now as they're listening to you and me. Mine's saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Why is it doing that? Because I am cleansing the beliefs in my mind that keep me or could have kept me from being in this moment, from being present with you. So I have no notes in front of me. I don't know what your questions are. We chatted for a little bit, but I'm following inspiration. I'm doing my best to be in this moment. And the more I can be in this moment, which is all we really have, past is gone, future isn't here, we just have this moment, the more inspiration can come to us. So I'm making myself available for inspiration by cleansing the programs, the beliefs, the data in my mind, my conscious, my unconscious, my subconscious. So Ho'oponopono is one of the things I use. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, that I wrote Zero Limits to explain.
Wow. So when you're saying that phrase in your head, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, are you talking to yourself? Who are you loving? Who are you sorry to?
Oh, wonderful. Well, geez, this opens so many layers. First of all, I'm talking to my connection to all that is. I'm talking to my connection, my internal connection to the life force. Again, I call that divinity. Somebody else might call that God. Somebody else might call that Gaia. They'll have different names for it. But we're all part of something bigger. There's something that keeps us alive here on the planet. It's keeping the gravity regulated and oxygen regulated and everything growing and keeping us moving through life. I am speaking and addressing that force, the force that gave me life, the force that animates my life. And what I'm basically saying is, I'm sorry for any beliefs that I have, I gained, I inherited from ancestors or brought on myself that are in my mind. Please forgive me for being unaware of my own programming. Thank you for dissolving the limitations, erasing them from my mind. And I love you is moving to that state of pure gratitude and pure unconditional love to say, I am one with this divinity. I love divinity. Divinity loves me. So it is a one-on-one relationship.
Wow.
Now, yeah, this is deep and powerful, but we got to wonder, how does saying that heal an entire ward of mentally ill criminals? So if the doctor is sitting in his office and he's thinking to himself, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, how is he healing those patients? By saying that to himself. He didn't say it to the patients. He looked at their charts. So he's looking at their charts and he's feeling whatever he's feeling. He's upset, he's angry, he's frustrated, he's whatever the emotion is. And with those feelings, he's addressing his petition to divinity and saying, I'm sorry for whatever we did in the world, whatever I did, whatever I believe that created this person. Please forgive me for the programming that got intertwined with that patient and myself. Thank you for taking care of this. I love you. All taking it back to himself. He's taking full responsibility. As he cleans himself, the patient gets better.
So you're starting with the phrase, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So to recap, you're saying, I love you to that part of you which is connected to divinity. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for any judgments or beliefs from the past that may be souring my essence.
That's right.
Please forgive me, meaning please heal me of this.
Yes, I'm sorry. Please heal me of this. Yes.
And thank you.
Thank you.
As in, it's done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're doing this.
It's an entirely internal experience. As you say it internally about whatever you perceive on the outside that's bothering you, your cleansing of the inside makes that on the outside disappear.
Wow. Now, I take it that there's another belief that this remarkable man has. What is his name, by the way?
Dr. Hulin.
Dr. Hulin.
Dr. Hulin.
It seems that he also believes that everything that he's witnessing in the exterior world, he has control over.
Doesn't have control over, but it is a mirror of what's in him. So in other words, he's a walking projector. So are you, and so am I. So as we walk around through the world, we see things out there, and some of them we don't like. But in Dr. Hulin's world, he sees that what he's noticing out there is a projection of what's in him. So instead of trying to change what's out there, he changes him. He sees total responsibility. He sees that he is 100% responsible for everything he does and sees and feels. And instead of trying to change the outer world, he changes his inner world. I know in one of my very first conversations with him, he asked me, he said, have you ever heard the phrase, you create your own reality? And I said, well, of course, I write about it. I talk about it. And he says, well, if you create your own reality and a mentally ill patient in a hospital is in front of you, did you not create them too? Or by extension, if somebody is complaining about work and they have an employee or they have a boss or they have somebody that's upsetting them, if you create your own reality, it includes that person. You created them. This is where full responsibility becomes this growth hack where you realize that there isn't a separation. What it is that everything out there is your responsibility. And I'm quick to point out, it's not your fault. It is not to blame anybody. It is not to feel guilty. It is to take back your power and to realize you're running the projector. What you see out there is the film you're projecting from in here. And Ho'oponopono was designed to clean up the projection so that you can see peace and abundance and love and productivity and all the things that you've been longing for.
Wow, that's a very powerful model of reality, to take on the model of reality that everything around you, including another person's dysfunction, is directly being projected by you.
Yes.
It reminds me of the training I did just before you, which was with the Reverend Michael Beckwith from the Agape.
Sure.
From the Agape Spiritual Center. So, and for those of you listening, if you haven't watched Michael Beckwith's interview, what Michael says is that as we evolve as human beings, we go from being victims, saying that there are outside forces governing our life, to being conscious creators, which is where we practice tools such as creative visualization to create the world. But he says there are levels beyond that, and he says there's a third level. That third level is where inspiration is guiding you on what to set as your next vision for your life. And I believe that's what you're talking about. You're talking about inspiration being greater than intention. And so it's beautiful how this parallels what Michael Beckwith says. But Michael Beckwith left us hanging. He said there's a fourth level. And he said that fourth level is, I am God. It's where
That's right.
you are literally creating everything that you are encountering in the world. Could Dr. Hu Lin, the doctor you're mentioning, be at that fourth level? What do you think of level three and what do you think of the jump between level three and level four?
I love this. And I totally agree with Reverend Beckwith, because the first is victimhood. And virtually all of us are born into it. And we're taught to survive. We're taught to make a living. We're taught to just scramble by. And we're taught that we're one against the world. Then there's empowerment. That's the second level. Thanks to things like what you're doing and what Reverend is doing and movies like The Secret and so forth, people are becoming more aware of their own power. In empowerment, you learn about intentions. You learn about your own personal choice. You learn that with action, with goals, with direction, with movement, you can actually change your life. It's a powerful place to be, but it's only the second level. The third level is what I call surrender. And this is where Ho'oponopono becomes very useful, because in surrender, you're surrendering your intentions to inspirations. And Ho'oponopono, as I've been describing, helps clean the mind of the data limiting your view of what's possible. When you open your view of what's possible, inspiration can come in. But there is that fourth level. That is what I call awakening. Awakening is when you and the divine are one. You and God are one. And that happens by grace. You can't make that happen. Trying to make that happen is a level 2 ego trip. That's you trying to become God, you trying to play God. Number 4, the awakening comes from grace. It comes from divinity itself, but you can prepare for it. You prepare for it by making yourself open to receive it. You do that with meditation, with time for gratitude, for silent time. So in other words, you're opening yourself to receive inspiration. And as you are opening yourself, you can merge with divinity. You can become one with all that is. You can have the awakening where you are, in essence, divinity. And divinity lives and moves and breathes and thinks through you at that point. And I can take people through a tiny little exercise to get them right up to that door. And if you give me permission, I'll do it.
I would love that.
Okay.
And I think everyone listening right now is at the edge of their seats right now.
Beautiful. So all this is an awareness exercise. As we are talking right now, people are thinking. They're thinking about they like what we're saying, or they're confused by what we're saying. They like Joe, they like you, they don't like us. There's all kind of thoughts going on in their head right now. What I want them to be aware of is that they're witnessing those thoughts. They are not those thoughts. They are having thoughts, but they are not thoughts. This is an important first step. So somehow they are the observer. Somehow they're behind the thoughts, and these thoughts are just kind of trucking on by, and you get to watch them. At the same time, there's emotions, there's feelings. Maybe they're still excited, they're on the edge of their seat, as you said. Maybe they're still hurting from something from today. Maybe their neck hurts or something. There's emotions going on at this very point. It could be happy, it could be sad, it could be any number of things. But they're noticing them. If they say, I am sad, there's the I and there's the sad. There's the I that's witnessing the sad. When they just take 1 minute and realize, I'm not my thoughts, I'm observing them. I'm not my emotions, I'm observing them. Now look at our body. They're in this body, which they may love, they may want to change, they want to morph into something else. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable, maybe it's totally fine. But they have a body. They are not a body. So, if you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your feelings, you're not your body, what are you? You're this background witness, this observer. That essence is what I call the zero state, and what Dr. Hu Lin and Zero Limits and the follow-up book At Zero called the point of zero. That is the essence of you. That is the essence of me. That is the essence of the next door neighbor, all the people listening. When we go behind the thoughts, behind the feelings, behind the body, there is a witness. The more we can attune to the witness, the closer we'll be to an awakening.
Wow, beautiful. It's deep, but are there any specific methods or systems we can do to help us be more conscious observers of our thoughts?
Well, the number one thing to do is meditate. And I meditate every day. It's one of my daily habits. I have a meditation time and I have a gratitude time. Now, the gratitude time is when I'm in the hot tub outside under the Texas sky, and I'm truly grateful because for a guy who wants to be homeless to be able to sit on his own place, have his own hot tub, and just float in there as the tensions of the day go, I am truly grateful. So whenever you move into a state of gratitude, you start to move closer to being in the moment, which is the real miracle right here, and you start to move closer to the connection to divinity, the connection to your source. So gratitude is one of the biggest things that anybody can do, and the great news is it's free. You do it right now. You can just start saying, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my glasses. I'm grateful for the computer. I'm grateful for whatever it happens to be. The other thing is to meditate, and there's all different kinds of ways to meditate. But I would refer people back to what we just did. If they can breathe in slowly, exhale slowly, and really get quiet, and then start wondering, okay, if I'm not my thoughts, and they'll notice they'll have thoughts. That's the human mind. It's got to keep generating thoughts. But we don't have to listen to them. We don't have to buy into them. We can watch them go by. So the more our meditation is about finding our connection to the witness behind the thoughts, behind the emotions, behind the body, the closer we knock on the door of an awakening. And that's a simple exercise. It's a matter of getting quiet, making the time, turn the phone off, close the door, don't have guests over, TV and everything else is off. And as you're sitting there and you close your eyes and you have thoughts go by, you just notice thoughts. If you have feelings coming up, you just notice feelings. If your body needs to move, you notice your body needs to move. But what you're looking for is what's behind all of it. That zero state, that witness, that observer. You want to see if you can become it by observing it and see if you merge.
I see. I love how you make it so simple. When we were planning this training, you mentioned that you wanted to talk about 4 models of reality. Okay, and you've already spoken about a number, but the 4 that you mentioned, you wanted to state as your beliefs are: my beliefs create reality. There's always a way. Nothing is impossible. I am responsible for it all.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to expand upon those 4.
All right. Well, the first one about beliefs creating reality goes to the idea that we live in a belief-driven universe. Everything you experience is coming to you directly as a result of the beliefs in your mind. The mistake people think is that they say, I believe I'm attracting love, but I'm not attracting love. I believe I'm attracting money, but I don't see money coming into my life. I believe I'm attracting a better job, but I don't see the better job. And the mistake they make is in thinking that the conscious belief is doing the work. It's not the conscious belief. It's the unconscious belief. You can sit there and say, I'm attracting money, I'm attracting a relationship, I'm attracting fill in the blank. But if unconsciously you don't believe that, you're attracting what you unconsciously believe. In my work, I call them counter intentions, because we state intentions. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to date more. I'm going to write my book. Those are all conscious intentions. And those are great. They're all noble. Nobody goes around saying, I'm going to start cocaine next week. They don't have that kind of a intention. They have a positive intention. But until they look into the unconscious, where we have to do the clearing and the belief work, they will create their reality based on their unconscious beliefs. This is an important distinction. This is like the $1 million turnaround point. If people want to hack into their life and redirect it in a new way, they have to work with the beliefs in their unconscious mind. So we live in a belief-driven universe, but the beliefs are in the unconscious. How do you get to the unconscious? This ties into Ho'oponopono. There's a lot of clearing techniques out there. But when you say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you, you don't need to know what the beliefs are. All you need to know is that you're unhappy, you're uncomfortable, you're frustrated, you're not getting the result that you want, and you don't know why. And what you're saying at that point is something to the effect of, oh, I'm trying to attract more money, it's not coming to me, maybe I have beliefs about money. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And by the way, you can say those statements in any order, whatever feels right. I generally say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. But you can begin with, I'm sorry for whatever the beliefs are in me that are preventing money from coming into my life. Please forgive me for having these beliefs and being unaware of them. Thank you for taking care of those beliefs. I love you, bringing me back to a state of peace and prosperity. So that's really about the first one. We live in a belief-driven universe. What was the second one?
The second one was, there is always a way.
That is a very empowering prime directive in my life. Whenever somebody starts a project, they always want to know, how am I going to get it done? What's the plan? What's the step-by-step approach? And more often than not, there isn't one. If you simply have the guiding thought, the guiding principle, that there is always a way, then you will find a way, you will create a way, or you will develop a way. There are numerous stories of people having scientific breakthroughs and coming up with new products for this and that, whether it's businesses or something on the shelf, all because they thought there has to be a way to do this. There has to be a way. It was 5 years ago when I decided that I was going to be a musician. I looked at my bucket list and said, okay, what haven't I done? Well, I always wanted to play music, but I never sang, never played. I played a little bit of guitar, never wrote songs, never recorded, never even sang in the shower. And all my limiting beliefs came up. So I did Ho'oponopono on them to eliminate them. This made me free to move forward. And then I thought, well, how am I going to do this? But I remembered the guiding principle. There's always a way. There's always a way. And then within 5 years, I have 15 albums out and more coming. In fact, I was in Rolling Stone magazine. I was in Texas magazine. I was voted #1 singer-songwriter by Reverb Nation.
Wow.
And none of this is to brag. All of this is to say that when you get clear of your beliefs that are stopping you, and you have a belief that there's always a way to get the result of the inspiration you're following, then you will find it. Then you will do it. It's a very powerful mindset.
That's insane and so inspiring. In 5 years, you made it to Rolling Stones and produced 5 albums from scratch.
That's exactly right. Well, 15 albums actually,
15,
but yes.
15 albums from scratch. Unbelievable, Joe. Now, the next belief you mentioned is, and it's so appropriate, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, you know, we used to say that there's limits in life, and you probably even heard it too, because in the early days when I went to the self-help seminars and read the books, they'd all say things like the sky's the limit. And what I've discovered is the sky's not even the limit. I don't think we have any limits. I don't think we have any limits at all. There might be some sort of physical limitations based on what we know about biology and physical sciences right now, but science keeps discovering more things, and we keep creating more things. So in my mind, if there's something I want to go for, I just figure I go back to the previous belief and think, well, there's got to be a way. If there isn't a way yet, I'll find it and create it, because nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible. It's a prime mindset in my head. And if you come from the idea that nothing's impossible and there's always a way, then pretty much anything you're inspired to do is free game. You may not know this, but a year or so ago, I created a movement to end homelessness in the United States. It's called Operation Yes. And I put up a website, operationyes.com. It's real. I got a book out for it, and I've aligned myself with some other groups that are trying to help poverty and homeless people. But the point is, as soon as I announced I want to end homelessness, a lot of people said that's impossible. But it's the same kind of mindset that Abraham Lincoln had to have had to say, during my term, we're ending slavery. And he took it as a mission. In another book of mine called The Secret Prayer, where he wrote that he had to do it because he made a promise to his God. He was driven by an inspiration that was on a holy level. You can only imagine the power that was surging through him. It's the same thing with me with ending homelessness. Sure, it's probably got to be an uphill battle, but if I project the idea out there into the world, the idea alone is going to fracture what the previous paradigm was. The previous paradigm is there's no way to end homelessness. Well, I'm coming from the standpoint that there's nothing impossible, let's try. And then the previous statement about there's always a way. We may not have it, but I bet we can create it. So, I mean, I get excited talking about all this. It's very, very dynamic.
No, you're getting me excited. This is riveting. I love what you just said. It reminds me about how by simply setting a bold intention like that, we pierce the previous paradigm. You're doing it with ending homelessness. Elon Musk is doing it when he says he wants to make mankind an interplanetary species. And what I'm starting to learn, and what I think people should learn, is that you don't want to laugh at these people because they're freaking serious about what they are going to do. And I wouldn't bet against you.
Yeah, and that is exactly right. Don't laugh about it. In fact, join them.
Or Elon Musk or Larry Page, who wants to make internet globally accessible and free.
I love big thinkers like that. I love big dreamers and big doers.
Now, the fourth belief that you have is I am responsible for it all.
Yes, and that ties into what we were talking about with Dr. Hulan and Ho'oponopono. It goes to the statement that most people don't look at very deeply. It's the idea that you create your own reality. For most people, they just look at it like, well, I create my own reality just right here, my physical being, what I say and what I do. And that's true. But the extended quantum leap version of this is that you are creating everything. So you are totally responsible for it. But I'm always quick to point out, it doesn't mean you are totally to blame for it. It means that you are creating all of it. And until this point, you are probably unaware of it. You're probably unconscious about your own creation. We're all like that. And I say my favorite example is if you go shopping in the store and you bump into somebody. You just turn and you say, I'm sorry. No guilt, no punishment. You don't have to feel bad. You were just for a moment unaware. That's how all of us are in the creation of our lives. It's not just our lives. It's everybody in our world. If you can see the person, experience the person, see the event, anything, you are contributing to the creation of it. I am responsible for all of it. This is why when I say, well, I'm going to end homelessness, it's because I'm responsible for homelessness. On one level, deep within, I'm responsible for that. Whatever my contributing beliefs are, I want to erase them. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. So it's a very empowering place to be. Years ago, decades ago, there was some therapist on TV who was trying to talk to patients he wanted to bring in. And he said, whatever your problem is, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And I always loved the neutral way of stating that. That's how we are, and that's how I treat my life. I'm not to blame for any of it, but I am responsible for all of it.
Beautifully said. Wow. So at this point, you said you gave me a list of a number of different systems that you are going to cover in this training, systems to accelerate our path towards operating from this zero, no limit state of being. And one of the systems was the clearer you are, the faster you get results.
Yes. That's a powerful one, and I don't know that many people know about it, because what it means is when you get rid of your conscious and unconscious limiting beliefs, there's nothing stopping you from getting anything done. Now, we've talked about me being in the music world here, and in 5 years or so, making 15 albums. During this time, I've met a lot of musicians, professional musicians who are doing it full time for their livelihood. They don't have one album. Some of them don't have more than one or two, and they're performing a lot and they're struggling. And what I see when I look at them is that they still have beliefs in their head about deservingness, about money, about fame or fortune, about the spirituality of what they're doing. They still have beliefs. And until they get rid of those limiting beliefs, they will just be sluggish in getting results. When I took on becoming a musician, I looked at all of the negative beliefs. They started coming up. All the negative beliefs. Whenever you reach for something new, any beliefs inside of you are going to start bubbling up. So when I reached to become a musician, I had beliefs come up, but I erased them. When I thought, who am I, almost at that point, almost 60 years old, to learn how to play guitar? Who am I to learn how to sing? Who am I to go in the studio? Who am I to write music? Who am I to release music? And then as I dissolved all those beliefs, there wasn't anything in the way for me to proceed. And in fact, I'll tell you a quick little story. My first album was supposed to take 1 year. I had hired a producer to hold my hand, and we were going to take 1 year to make my first album. Do it slow. Well, pretty quickly, the publisher of a local magazine came to me and said, we want to put you on the cover of the magazine. And I said, for what? He said, for whatever you want. And I thought, well, that's a blank check. Well, and I thought about it, and I thought, wow, I'd like to be on the cover of the magazine as a musician. That would be my coming out. And I said, when are you going to put me on the cover? He said, in 3 months. Well, that meant I had to get my album done in 3 months. So I went to my producer and I said, you know, our plan to make my CD in 1 year, can we reduce that to 3 months? And he took a deep breath, but he knows how I work and how I think. And he knows that there's always a way. He knows that there's nothing impossible. He knows that when you're clear, you can get results. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And we got the album done, and I went on the cover with my album and an article about me as a musician. 12 months to 3 months. All because the clearer you are, the faster you get the results in your life. It's all about changing your beliefs.
I needed to hear that because I've given myself 1 year to get my book out.
Yes.
Now I may need to have to step it up and get it out by December.
That's easy. That's doable.
That's beautiful, Joe. I freaking love your stories. Okay, so there were a couple of other systems that you were going to teach us. One is I spend time in silence for gratitude.
Yeah, and I was referring to that earlier, but it's very important to spend time every day. And I really think that this is so important that we should take an hour to do it. But I also think, here's what I really practice. I'll tell you what it is. I practice something called active gratitude. It's not just gratitude, it's active gratitude. And what that means is throughout my entire day, not just in the time when I'm in the hot tub, throughout my entire day, what I'm doing is pausing as much as I consciously can to actively give thanks for each moment. I'm actively giving thanks to be here with you. These are great questions. It's a great honor to be interviewed by you. This is a great moment. I am incredibly grateful for all of this. As I go through my day, I want to pause and actively, which means I'm observing, I'm noting, I'm saying, I'm acknowledging my gratitude all through the day. That active gratitude turns your life from one of the mundane to the miraculous. The life that I live now is a moment-by-moment state of awe and wonder. I look around and I just really can't believe it on some level. But this is the miracle of life. And it's not just me. It's not my life. It's your life. It's each person. When they actively start to be grateful, then they transform. I got to tell you a quick story. Decades ago, I was out of homelessness, but I was in poverty. And I was reading the self-help books, and I was going to any of the different places that gave free talks. And they always talked about gratitude. And I thought, yeah, gratitude. I'll be grateful when I have something to be grateful for. But that's not how it works. And they told me that again and again. So one day I picked up a pencil. I'm picking up a pen right now, but I picked up a pencil back then and I looked at it and I flippantly said, okay, I'm grateful for this pencil. And then I thought, well, with this pencil, I can write a suicide note, and I can write a grocery list, and I can write a poem, and I can write a song, and I can write a screenplay. And I got a little bit more excited as I realized, oh, I can write the great American novel. I can write checks. I can write to-do lists. I can write, and I went, wow, all this from a pencil. And then I turned the pencil over and said, an eraser. Who thought of that? Now I can erase the suicide note. And no kidding aside, my life changed in that moment because I switched from that unhappy, desperate, struggling man who picked up a pencil, and skeptically and flippantly started to pretend he was grateful. I turned into gratitude. And that opened my heart. It opened me up. And it's one of the keys to my success.
Could you just repeat that? There was a little gap. You said from that point on.
Yes. From that point on, I always practice gratitude, and it's one of my keys to success. It's what brought me here today, and that's why I still practice active gratitude as well as my hot tub time.
You know, there was just a scientific research article that was just put out. I found it on Google News this week, and they were studying all different traits that human beings could have to see what trait had the highest correlation with well-being. And they define well-being in a particular measurable way. They define all these traits in a particular measurable way. And guess what? Gratitude is the single greatest human characteristic that has the highest correlation with well-being in the world today.
Wow. I totally believe it, and I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that there's even scientific proof for it, but I'm doing it anyway.
There's now scientific proof. Now, there was another system that you were going to talk about, and that is I spend time in silence to receive.
Yeah, that's really important. One of the ways that I receive so many ideas is that I allow my brain time to receive them. Too many of us, myself included, we get busy with the internet, with our email, with our phone calls, with our driving, with our errands, with our family, with our work, with our programs, with our to-dos, our errands. It just goes on forever. And ideas, inspiration can't get through. There's so much noise in our lives that the inspiration trying to get through is just hitting all the filters. And so what I do is make time to receive them, which means I'm away from people, I'm away from my phone, I'm away from the internet. More often than not, I live in the country, I go out on the property, I'm out in the trees, squirrels and deers and all of nature all around me. And what I'm doing is just being quiet. I'm being receptive. I'm not talking to myself, I'm not singing to myself, I'm just allowing divinity to bring something in. And it always does. I will receive inspiration. It'll be for another book, which explains 50 books. It'll be for another music CD, which explains 15 CDs. It'll be for a product, a service, an internet website, something like that. And I want to give you a bonus tip, because I do something special when I get my ideas. So I'm making space to receive the ideas. I receive the ideas because I've made myself available for them. I then act on the ideas because I treat the ideas as a gift from the universe, from God, from the divinity, from wherever they came from. I didn't ask for those ideas. I was available. I didn't ask for them. I didn't buy them. I don't have to pay for them. They're given to me as a gift, and I treat them like a holy message that has been given to me. The next thing I do is immediately take action on the ideas as fast as humanly possible. I take action. Why? Because the faster I act on an idea, the faster I can ride the energy that came with the idea to get it done. In other words, I'm putting a saddle on the idea and I'm riding it to the finish line. What most people do is they get an idea and they write it down and they'll say, I'll get to it later. And when they do get to it, if they get to it, the excitement isn't there. Now it's a good idea and they may still bring it into life, but it'll feel like hard work. When I act on an idea, I'm acknowledging my gift and I'm writing the enthusiasm and the energy that came with the idea to actually complete it. That's my bonus tip.
Wow, love it. And that was also one of the things you said you were going to talk about. Act on ideas as fast as possible. And there's one more. And this one is a little bit unusual for people who might be unexposed to this type of thinking. And that is I ask for help from seen and unseen helpers.
Oh, yes, I do. And I never used to talk about that. But, at this point in my life, I just want to spill the beans and share with everybody what I'm doing. But I'll tell you, even when I was struggling, I talked to my angels, I prayed, I looked for help from the seen as well as the unseen. And what that means is I was never afraid to ask for help from people who were already successful. I would write to them and ask for help, say, I'm a struggling author, could you help me? And at the same time, I was never afraid to close my eyes and say a prayer, or to actually speak out loud and act as if my angels are around me and say, look, I need help paying my bills. I need a way to find a publisher. I need a solution to this problem. Show me how to get that. Guide me. Help me. I've worked both levels, meaning the seen and the unseen. I've had great success with both. Throughout my life, whenever I asked for help from successful people, virtually every time they wrote back. And when I say wrote back, it was because the internet, we didn't have the internet. I was unknown. I was struggling. I'd write to authors. I'm thinking of Bob Bly right now. Bob Bly has written 50-some books himself, great copywriter. He didn't know me. When I was struggling and I lived in Houston, I would write him. I read one of his books. I wrote to him in care of the publisher. He wrote back. I never forgot it. And now we're friends and we help each other. But back then, he didn't know me. And so I would write to known people, and I was always amazed that I wrote to one advertising guy, Murray Raphael was his name, and this is decades ago. He sent me a box of his books and his advertising material for me to study. I mean, these people want to help people. If you're sincere when you go for your request, they'll note it. And if they can help, they will. That's been my experience. And then the other experience is the more spiritual or metaphysical. I wrote a book called The Secret Prayer because I'm finally talking about the prayers that I use. And I still use that today. I still pray. Before I got on this call, I did a little prayer because I wanted to be sure I was clean, clear, available for inspiration, and in this moment, present with you. So that is another thing I do. Ask for help from the seen and unseen.
And it's obviously working because this is one of the best damn trainings I've had on this program. Seriously.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Seriously, I wish I had a pen and paper next to me because there's just so much I want to write down. So
well, hopefully you've been recording.
Yes, hopefully the recorder is working. Joe, you mentioned the secret prayer, and just as a quick recap, because at this point you've gotten people so excited, I want to make sure that you share the top 3 books of yours that we can read to truly master this. Zero Limits is, of course, one. That's incredible. And I know a sequel has come out. I just got that on iBooks. I'm going to start reading it this weekend. What is the name of the sequel to Zero Limits?
At Zero.
At Zero. Okay.
At Zero.
Great. And then you just mentioned The Secret Prayer.
The Secret Prayer is my most recent book. It's been out for a month or so. It's a bestseller on Amazon. So there's a Kindle version, the paperback version, and there's an audio version where I read the whole book. And there's about 30 5-star reviews, so it's really connecting people. And it's a very important book to me because I really confess in what I hope is a very inspiring way how I have a relationship with divinity. And I do talk about Ho'oponopono as one of the prayers in The Secret Prayer. But The Secret Prayer, definitely At Zero, Zero Limits. And I have to admit, the book that I always hear changes lives is my book, The Attractor Factor. Mm-hmm. The Attractor Factor is what got me into the movie The Secret. And that was a long time ago. But the book's still out there, and that's probably my #1 bestseller. The Attractor Factor, then The Secret Prayer, At Zero, and Zero Limits. And thank you for even asking.
I see. The Attractor Factor. That's something else I'm going to add to my must-read list. So, could I ask you for something? Could you give us a glimpse of the secret prayer, a technique or something from that book that we could apply?
Well, it's actually based on 3 steps. And the very first one we've talked about quite a bit. The very first one is active gratitude. It's realizing that your prayers have already been answered. It's realizing that you're already living the miracle. It's realizing that actually all is well. Yes, you want to change a few things, you want to adjust some things, you want some other things in your life, but you need to start from a place of gratitude. Most people, when they pray, are begging. They're starting from a place of lack and limitation, and from all kind of reasons that's wrong. It doesn't work. It's a very upsetting victimhood kind of a place to be. So the first step in the secret prayer is active gratitude, really being grateful for where you are right now. And the second one is about making detached request. And I specifically say detached request because, again, too many people say, I must have this job, I must have this car, I must have this person. And no, you don't must have to have anything. And in fact, when you're more detached about it, the universe or God or divinity can bring you something more appropriate, something that's a better match for you. One question I hear all the time is people will say something like, my lover left me, can I attract them back or pray them back? Or I'm in love with my next door neighbor, can I have him or her? And I immediately say, do you realize there's 7 billion people on the planet? There might be somebody there that's a match for you that's not the one who left, and it's not your neighbor. So the second step is to make a detached request. It's almost like politely saying, I'd really love to have this job or this amount of money or this kind of a relationship, but you're not addicted to it. You're not attached to it. You don't need it. You're psychologically at peace because you started with gratitude. So the first step is the active gratitude. The second one is the detached request. And the third one is inspired action. And inspired action means that too many people, when they pray, just kind of sit. It's the same problem people had when they watched the movie The Secret. They thought, oh, all I do is sit and visualize, and the bike's going to show up at the door. Well, you have to take some action. The world is based on a co-creation. It's what you do, it's what I do, it's what everybody else does that makes the world keep on moving. It involves movement. So the point is, inspired action means when you're inspired from within, you get that nudge, you get that emotional push to do something, do it. That's coming from your inspiration. That's going to take you in the direction of fulfilling what you've requested. So there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basic 3 steps to the secret prayer.
Wow, amazing stuff. Joe, you've delivered so much incredible ideas, models, and systems in just 58 minutes. This is exciting. For those of you listening, if you'd like to explore some of these topics further, for sure, pick up Joe's book. I can tell you so much about how Zero Limits, even though it's not a traditional self-help book, it's a story. That book changed my life because of that idea of intention versus inspiration. Other things to check out on this particular program, Consciousness Engineering, are the trainings with Dr. Michael Beckwith, because, as I mentioned earlier, he talks about moving through those 4 stages to ultimately becoming I am God. And then our training with Emily Fletcher, who is that amazing meditation instructor who has spoken at Harvard Business School, because she expands upon one of Joe's ideas, which is I act on ideas as fast as possible. That particular segment from Emily is amazing. And third, listen to the training by Christy Marie Sheldon. She gives her own technique, which is also really interesting, on how to clear beliefs so you can be at that zero state. And of course, Joe, look into Joe's work. It is incredible. Joe, thank you so much. This was just beautiful and enlightening.
Thank you. And Godspeed to all your listeners and viewers. Thank you.
Take care.